Hey, welcome to Oldsmobile 455 Garage. We're working on the front seat today. We plan on taking all the carpet out and the seats out because we're going to add on from the front subframe and connect it to the rear subframe to stiffen the chassis. But today we're going to be taking the seat out and trying to fix it because it's sloppy and you don't want to be shifting a gear really hard and having the seat fall back, and you might have a hard time, hanging onto the steering wheel, lose control. It's an unsafe situation. But my partner here, he likes to keep the vehicle always in a rolling state. He's not one of them guys that tears everything apart all at once and then you got this basket case sitting in your garage. And we'll show you what's happening. The foam is decomposing and you go to clean it out, and later on, just from sitting in it, you're finding decomposing foam on the carpet again. So we're in this situation now that he doesn't know if he wants to keep it stock or get aftermarket seats. By the time you figure out the cost of the foam and new covers, we might have enough in it where it might be cheaper to just buy new seats. So this is an odd situation. I've never seen this before. They're rounded and they got a Phillips head tip, and if they're rusted, we're gonna have problems. But they're not. It's amazing. This car is just really nice. Never had to fight with one bolt yet. There's no resistance whatsoever. That came out like butter, like I wasn't even really connected with anything. So this reminds me of a situation when we were younger. Back in the days, old people worked hard for their money, and when they bought something, they wanted it to last forever. So in our car and in the house, my mom actually had plastic covering the furniture because they don't want kids making a mess on stuff. And we had a room that was like off limits to the kids. And like 10 years later, the furniture still looked like brand new, but every time you lifted the cushions and you went to vacuum, it would be all foam dust. And you'd hate to put brand new carpet in here and put these seats back in, and every time you got in there and sat, you'd have this foam breaking down. So we have to get new foam or find different seats. It just looks like, everything goes back to Ma Nature.
Got a rip here in the vinyls. Vinyl's pretty dried up. There's another rip back here. There's a rip down here on the side.
I'm going to take the carpet out, so I'm going to take these off, get those kick panels loose, take the back seat out, and we'll get the carpet out. Then we'll start peeling away the undercoating where we're going to do the frame connectors. I feel like the Rob Lowe guy with the wimpy arms. I mean, this is really cemented. I think I gotta get a putty knife. It's got the factory jute mat. You can see what they used for heat control back in the day was like a jute mat. It's like a bunch of hemp shredded up, and then they cut it to shape, and then when this was painted and it was wet, it just stuck on, or else they put some kind of cement on it. But once we get that off, we'll probably use Dynamat or spray it with like lizard skin or something so heat doesn't transfer and it keeps you more comfortable inside. But these floors are just rock solid. There's not a bit of rust. So this is another point of the project where you can tell that the owner that bought this car knew what he was looking for and avoided a whole lot of extra money and time by picking a car that was solid. A lot of guys will be 16 to 18 years old and they want to have a 68 Mustang or a 67 to 69 Camaro. All them cars are rusted out, especially in Wisconsin. If you go out to California, maybe you can find something decent. But this is a Wisconsin car and it's totally solid. That Cougar, the guy that bought it, used a flashlight and somebody had a bunch of tar over everything. Well, the whole car was rusted out. It was like a parts car. And he wanted it fixed up. Well, it took a whole lot of fabricating metal, getting everything straight and welding plates over the torque boxes, new floor pans, new trunk, all that stuff. Waste of time. This is a nice solid foundation, and when it really comes down to it, kids are thinking that they can buy a new engine or buy a new tranny and get the car going. You spend more money on body work than you do drivetrain. So don't worry about the drivetrain. Get a solid body and you'll save yourself money. We are going to be welding a 3-sided channel underneath to stiffen the floor pan, and when it's welded underneath to the floor, it will make a complete box and stiffen up where the suspension piece is back to this front subframe. We'll stiffen the whole thing up and maybe a brace going across where the suspension points are, and this thing will be way more rigid. When you have a vehicle that's more rigid, for one thing, if you got really good traction, you won't break the windshield and the back glass and twist these. And it's happened to other people that overpowered a body. So depending on the strength of your vehicle, you have to put in a roll cage, 6-point, 10-point chassis. The faster it goes, they require it because it's safety, plus it holds the car together. The stiffer the chassis is, instead of the body flexing, your suspension can work more and still have the correct steering geometry without having everything twist up. It'll just make the car feel better. Then when we're welding, we won't have all this stuff on fire. So you gotta gut out the interior. When we were ripping this out of the car, it was actually like a biohazard because there was so much of this decomposing material. It was just like a cloud inside the car, and you can see how usually when you got 2 seats on and a back seat, you don't see much of the carpet, but this is funky. All that decomposing foam is all on it. The mat is torn up. When he gets a new carpet in here, it'll look 100% better. You can't work with this stuff.